Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you saw in the description, we'll be talking about how to make smaller rooms appear bigger, right? I know all of you are so excited for this video, so remember to go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can always be aware whenever I post up a new video, and make sure that you put on that bell so you'll always get a notification whenever I post up. You don't want to be left out of every video. Trust me, these videos give you some nice little insight on some things, and then two, gives you a refresher on something that you already know. So let's get into this, my staging newbies and decor newbies, and people who love just the love of interior decoration. How to make a small room appear bigger. And that's what we're basically going to be discussing today. There are always three main objectives when discussing how to make rooms appear larger and or smaller in retrospect and visual scope. The big thing will always be scale, color, and coherence, right? Scale being how big or small it is, color being basically the color within the room can mean a lot, and coherence basically how everything just blends together, the mood, the harmony within the space, right? So let's get down and dig deeper into how we're going to make these things work. First things first, with scale, using smaller furniture and small design motifs are better in scale. And this is a big, big, big thing, especially for those who have apartments. A lot of times whenever we have apartment complexes, we tend to always want to gear towards buying big furniture, right? Only because the goal at the end of the day is to move ourselves from an apartment into a house. But when you are in an apartment, those scales and dimensions are obviously smaller in size. So you really just want to make sure that when you're moving into a college dorm or an apartment complex of any kind, you want to go ahead and style furniture based on the scale and size of the space that you have. You don't want it to feel too cluttered because you already are only at max size that you can work with anyway. So putting in smaller furniture sizes usually makes the room appear bigger and makes it feel more spacious, especially for someone like you who has to be inside the space for long periods of time. Color. Light colors make things seem bigger, and this is true. Whenever you have a more neutral space, it makes things look, spacious, more vibrant, more clear, airy, and visual retrospect. But whenever you put that sense of color, something that's real vibrant or that's very contrasting and darker, it makes your eyes zoom right into focus on that darker color. Right? So darker colors are for things that basically you want to bring attention to, and lighter colors for things that you want to have more be washed away into the scene. So using lighter colors obviously enhance the room and making it feel more airy and spacious, versus using darker colors, which makes you basically feel more closed in and focus in more. It kind of gives you a more narrow view whenever you're looking into a space. A good example would be in bathrooms. Whenever you have guest bathrooms, you technically utilize that space for more you time. So obviously a lot of times when you look into people's bathrooms or guest bathrooms in commercial spaces, they're usually more focused on being more color coded in dark tones, because it's more sensual, it's more intimate, it's more about you and just you feeling like you're by yourself, because the bathroom time is, our me time, our you time. So we tend to always want to do darker colors in those spaces because it makes us feel nice and cozy and just feel like we're all alone, to just have that moment to just reflect and just be at peace and just in our own space. And if you obviously have a bathroom that's the lighter color, you won't feel as like constricted and you time. You'll feel more airy, open, and like wide open for everybody to be in the business, right? So that's a good example of why even in like smaller like pocket spaces, the reasons why we'll use darker color tones versus lighter color tones. But in small rooms, necessarily living rooms or bedrooms, you want to go more for a lighter tone. Even though it's small in scale, it's still a common area or an area that's more so used on a day-to-day basis that encompanies more people than just one person. Coherence, you know that unity as opposed to diversity is better. You always want your stuff to look more unified. You don't really want to go too far off the Richter scale on contrasting and diverse. A good example of diversity would be eclectic designs. People that use eclectic style usually pull from so many different places, right? So our main goal is to pull from different things and bring those different things that are so diverse into looking more unified in a space. But if you aren't really good at understanding that, you will make it look very um, not drag, but dramatic and just jazzy, right? And it looks like it's so many other things going on. It's very loud. It doesn't have any consistency. It's just out here. So that's what you don't want to have happen. So you always want to look for having unity within the space as much as possible with the color tones, the scale of heights of the furniture, scale of size of the furniture, everything matters. Next thing for helping make a room appear bigger that is small, utilizing walls. So as again with our three, main objectives, scale, which will be think small if you use pattern wallpaper, choose one with a small design motif. For small rooms, you kind of don't want to give the viewpoint to be like, oh my God, there's wallpaper and pattern, right? You want the wallpaper pattern to at least be in scale with the room size and not be too big to where it just looks crazy. Like I could have a really big sign behind me, but say, my frame is obviously small. The big sign behind me will obviously just look out of place because it's like, hey, I have this small frame. I need something that's a little bit more small in scale and size. So then this evens out, right? So you never want to go ahead and put too big of design pattern motifs up if you're going to use wallpaper. You want to go for something that's better in scale, that corresponds with the actual scale of the room. Color. Think light color. Cover the walls in light color since light color make things look bigger and give the illusion of expanding space. So in stagings, right, we always gravitate to more of our neutrals and light color tones because whenever we're adding in the furniture, we're giving that contrast to eye capture through our furniture pieces itself. Every now and again, depending on the actual project, we may actually go ahead and put some dazzling color or at least an accent wall. And one big key thing whenever you're doing accent walls, you want to stick with the 1 to 3. You want to go ahead and give one wall be the accent color or 3 walls be the accent color. You never want to do twos. It just doesn't fare out balance well. So always do the 1 to 3 rule whenever you're doing accents. But always keep note that lighter colors bring in that light. It brings in of zone and mood of feeling spacious versus darker tones making you feel more like tunnel focused. So again, go for lighter tone paints. Coherence, think unity. Okay, paint the doors and all the trim the same color as the walls since this unifies the area of the walls and opposed to breaking them up. I, for one, always will suggest more white for my doors and my wall bases and door frames because white is pretty much goes with anything. And two, it really brightens up the room depending on if you put color inside of it, right? You have that nice, beautiful contrast. And then just to look at your exit just looks really, really good. I never really want to go ahead and utilize different color tones. Most of the time, I'll use different tones for the walls, but my trims and my doors will be more so in white or as much neutral as possible. They'll be close in like color family. So if I use a neutral tone within the room, then I kind of keep my doors and trims neutral. It doesn't have to necessarily be the same color sometimes that I use, but I try to at least keep it in the same realm and family, right? If it's like a really bright pink wall, then I probably won't use bright pink doors or light pink doors because that's just a lot of pink. But I'll use white because it's still within that family, because white is usually always in the hues of another color. So think like that, but it doesn't hurt to be able to utilize masking a whole entire space the same color. But then it will make you be like really closed in, but that's if you use dark colors. But in lighter tone rooms, going for a nice cream or neutral tone white, off white, is usually going to always be your best friend. Solutions, right? So mirrors are great wall treatments, right? We all love mirrors. We all love to look at ourselves, see how we look before we go ahead and step out in the morning and before we go to bed, if you're that kind of person. But ooh, sorry you guys. But mirrors always work very, very well within any kind of space. That is more effective than any other situation and thing given in a room, and it creates the illusion of being big, right? Sometimes you'll have two walls within a space looking at each other, and there'll be mirror walls, and that kind of creates the illusion of the space having more room than actually necessary. So that's a nice little trick when you use mirrors. Like I said, in small spaces, you might even consider mirror facing walls. This produces the effect of infinity space, as one wall reflects the other. So that's what I was basically talking about with the two wall mirrors, looking basically opposite of each other, looking at each other, and just creating that sense of more space being drawn out. In small bathrooms, decorators sometimes use mirrors on the walls, all over the walls, and often the ceilings too. So this is a weird thing to do, but it's very creative and abstract. I usually always tell people, if you're going to do that, it's a very abstract and creative thing to try to do, but you have to be smart when doing it. It doesn't mean that you do it in every space, but it is something neat to try. If you end up having a whole wall in front of you, to your side, and behind you and on the ceiling, and it's all out of mirrors, it really makes you feel like you're in a infinity box. Have you ever seen those movies where they're like trapped into a room and it's just mirror, 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 or it seems like it's just dead space because the room is white? Or say one wall is like completely white and then everything else is a mirror. So it's just reflecting that white on each wall and it's making it look just infinite. That's kind of what that's giving in a small bathroom if you put mirrors all over the place. I would say there is a picture that floated around with a bathroom that basically had the floor acting like the floor was completely gone. And then it had the mirror walls. It was very, very strange when seeing it, but it was very abstract. But like I said, if you guys always want to try something different and really like dazzling and new, I would say do this in a home that you're going to live in, and don't do this in a home that you're going to sell. That would basically shun people away from the house if they end up seeing a small bathroom like that. But even having a accent wall that's just a mirror is always a good thing to try to do. That obviously, frees up more room within the other walls. It gives you that mirrored big mass effect of space just with one wall. You don't have to do all the walls, but just with one also creates that kind of illusion. So if you obviously want to do that, you can always go ahead and just do one wall as opposed to all the walls. But like I said, if you're going to do all the walls or something so crazy and abstract like that, make sure that it's a home that you're living in and not a home that you're about to sell. Making use of windows. So again, our 3 objectives: scale. In small rooms, avoid flamboyant window treatments. Use solid colored curtains or small design motifs. With small design motifs, it kind of keeps the eyes away from tunnel visioning into the curtain and keeps your focus still on feeling like you have space, right? You don't want to go ahead with something that's really, really jazzy and loud, because then it puts your focus back on making the room feel like it's a little more constricted. So you always want to go ahead and make sure you use solid colors, which will go ahead and make you feel like you have more free room to roam versus feeling like you're blocked by like that invisible wall that's created from curtains. Color. Match the color of your window treatments to the color of the walls. If you use curtains that feature a design motif, match the fabric background color to the color of the walls. And that's always something good to keep note of whenever you're designing, especially if you're not completely aware of what exactly to do. You can always go for something like that. Using curtains that feature a certain design motif that matches kind of like the fabric backdrop and color of the walls. That way it kind of keeps the consistency of the color within the space and keeps the mood very harmonious, right? Coherence. If your window treatment involves wallpaper with a design motif, consider using curtains that have matching motifs. Even in big rooms, you are usually well advised to stick to only one type of window treatment, right? And that is a true thing. In bigger rooms, we tend to always usually see one type of window treatment. You won't have like a frosted window with a very striking, bedazzling blinds and then the curtain, which is something else that's even more bedazzling. You kind of keep it toned down as much as possible. That way the focus, again, is not just on the window or feeling constricted, but it's on the entire space itself and brightening and opening up that room. Utilizing flooring, right? So scale, avoid large motifs since they make the room appear smaller by comparison. If you have a smaller room, I would always try to avoid big planked wood flooring or like big tile flooring. So something that's not 2x2, but something that's like 4x4 tile or 3x3 tile. You want to make sure that it's smaller in scale so it fits the size of the actual room. And don't add like 8-inch wall bases. That will make a room feel smaller, especially if it's already tiny. You want to go ahead and put something that's a little bit smaller, like 4-inch wall bases along the walls. That way it keeps the height and depth basically making sense. You want that dimension to flow, not be scattered all over the place like that. Color. The objective is to make the walls appear to recede, to move outward. So you want to use light colors on the walls. And this is back again. You want to use light colors. I feel like I'm going to just be repeating this a lot, but as much as possible. For smaller rooms, you want to go ahead and use light colors on the walls, but you also want to try to be able to use a more neutral toned on the floor. When you use darker toned flooring, In a small space, you obviously are basically giving back the idea that this is a smaller room, and the fact that my space is now limited. I can see that flooring basically straight from the wall bases down to the floor. If that flooring is like dark maple and my walls are uh neutral, like a off-white, kind of like this color, right? Off-white, and I have dark maple wood floors in a small room. As nice as that color palette may look, I'm now geared visually to the fact that this is a small room. I can't deny it. I can't go past it. I can't let it, disappear out of my mind because of the simple fact that I have dark wood flooring. Just dark. Unless it was a bathroom, then yeah. But a bedroom, okay. You're showing me obviously what kind of limitations I have. And you don't want to do that. So don't go for too dark, because then you're mapping out the space. But if you want to go for dark, I would say go for a lighter dark tone. That way it kind of goes in harmony with your light colored walls. Coherence. To make a room appear larger, an area rug would break up the flow of space and make the room appear even smaller, right? So if you have a big area rug, that can also be able to make the room appear small. You don't want to go ahead and put too big of an area rug into your small rooms. You want to go ahead and use something that's more nice in size. Now, if you guys would like, think of it like this. Every bed size has a certain dimension of rug to go with it. I will actually be making a video about that, like the exact kind of size rugs to go with your actual bed furniture. But you don't want to go ahead and use a 10 by 10 or 13 by 15 size rug in a small bedroom, and it just takes up the whole entire floor. You're obviously re-showing that the bedroom is tiny. You don't want to do that. If you do want to go ahead and have an area rug, you can always use runner rugs. In the bedrooms, runner rugs seem to be a really nice keen thing to use. It's right there for the certain amount of space that you need it for. It goes along the actual bed length. It's perfect, right? And you got to remember, it's still small in size to still not take away or retract the feeling of you being in a small room, right? Because you're already using smaller furniture, so a runner rug will probably work perfectly because it's the right size to your small furniture. Versus you using a big rug and it just takes up way too much space and you can't do anything in there. Nobody wants that, right? So always keep those in mind. And that would be all that we have for how to make a small room appear bigger. Thank you guys so much for sitting here with me and viewing this video for today. Like I said, make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button. You do not want to not be subscribed to the channel. We go over many different tips and tricks, like I said, for all my staging newbies and decor newbies, or even people who love just interior decorating. Always be subscribed and make sure that you have that bell on so you can always be noticed if and when I post up a new video. Write your comments down in the comment section underneath the video today on YouTube. You guys have a nice conversation. If you guys have any specific questions for me, please don't feel shame to hit me up on Facebook or on Instagram or even on my website. You guys can easily contact me on my contact tab and just ask me a few questions. Again, you can contact me on Facebook or contact me on Instagram. Either way, I'll get to you as soon as I can and the best way that I can. So thanks again, you guys, and stay tuned 2 weeks from now for our next video, and share this video with all your friends and family. All right, you guys, have a nice day. Bye.